In 2005, Shaun Alexander dominated the NFL with 1,880 rushing yards and a record-breaking 28 touchdowns. Just 2 years later, he was cut from the team, his career effectively over at age 30. How does a star burn so bright only to fade overnight? Shaun Alexander's rise and fall is one of the NFL's most shocking reversals, from MVP to unemployed in just 2 seasons. His story is a cautionary tale of fame, injuries, and the brutal shelf life of running backs, where yesterday's hero can become today's afterthought in the blink of an eye. The story of Shaun Alexander starts in Florence, Kentucky, where a future NFL star grew up far from the spotlight. At Boone County High School, Alexander showed flashes of his potential, but college recruiters weren't exactly camping outside his door. Even when Alabama came calling, he wasn't projected to revolutionize their backfield. Alexander arrived in Tuscaloosa in 1996 as just another freshman running back, redshirting his first year while learning the college game. When Alexander finally got his chance at Alabama, he made an unforgettable statement. On November 9, 1996, in LSU's intimidating Death Valley, Alexander exploded for a school record 291 yards and 4 touchdowns in prime time. This performance hinted at greatness, but full recognition remained elusive. His sophomore season proved disappointing with just 415 yards and 3 touchdowns, raising questions about his potential. Alexander silenced doubters in 1998, rebounding with 1,178 yards and 18 touchdowns to earn all SEC honors. His senior year cemented his Alabama legacy when he led the Crimson Tide to an SEC championship, highlighted by a memorable comeback against Auburn with 3 rushing touchdowns. Despite leaving Alabama with impressive records, 3,565 rushing yards, 41 touchdowns, and 15 school records, NFL scouts remained skeptical. The 2000 NFL Draft saw him selected 19th overall by Seattle, behind Jamal Lewis, who went 5th to Baltimore. This reflected persistent doubts that would shadow him throughout his career. His NFL journey began quietly behind veteran Ricky Watters. Alexander's rookie season consisted mostly of observation and learning, appearing in 16 games but starting just 1. His numbers, 313 yards and 2 touchdowns, hardly suggested future greatness. The Seahawks themselves were underdogs, a franchise tucked away in the Pacific Northwest, rarely factoring into national conversations. The team hadn't won a playoff game since 1984, operating in relative obscurity compared to marquee franchises. Everything changed in 2001 when Alexander claimed the starting role. Free from Waters' shadow, he rushed for 1,318 yards and 14 touchdowns, establishing himself among the NFL's top backs. From 2001 through 2004, Alexander recorded 4 consecutive 1,000-plus yard seasons, while attention focused on LaDainian Tomlinson, Priest Holmes, and Marshall Faulk. Alexander's brilliance was subtle but devastating. Like a chess master surveying the board, he displayed remarkable patience behind the line, waiting for blocks to develop before attacking openings with surprising power. What critics viewed as weaknesses, his deliberate approach and measured acceleration, became strengths in Mike Holmgren's system. Behind stellar offensive linemen Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson, Alexander's methodical style allowed plays to fully develop. His exceptional vision transformed potential losses into consistent gains, gradually wearing down defenses possession after possession. While Alexander had proven himself as a reliable star, nobody could have predicted what would happen next. Entering the 2005 season, Shaun Alexander found himself in the perfect situation for a career-defining year. His contract was expiring, giving him enormous financial motivation. The Seahawks had assembled one of the league's most dominant offensive lines, anchored by future Hall of Famer Walter Jones and All-Pro guard Steve Hutchinson. This human wall provided Alexander the protection and running lanes that perfectly complemented his patient running style. Mike Holmgren's offensive system, built around power running concepts, positioned Alexander as the centerpiece of Seattle's attack. Alexander also carried personal motivation into 2005. The previous season, he had missed winning the NFL rushing title by a single yard to Curtis Martin, finishing with 1,696 yards. In the final game of 2004, Holmgren called a quarterback sneak at the goal line instead of giving Alexander the ball, a decision that cost him both the touchdown and the rushing crown. Alexander publicly expressed his frustration, calling the play call "stabbing me in the back." This perceived slight fueled his determination to dominate in 2005. From the season opener, Alexander looked like a man possessed. Week after week, he punished defenders and found the end zone with remarkable consistency. What happened next would shock the football world. 1,880 rushing yards on 370 carries for a 5.1-yard average, 27 rushing touchdowns that broke Priest Holmes's NFL record, and 28 total touchdowns. These statistics represented one of the greatest single seasons ever produced by a running back. Alexander's dominance manifested in several standout performances. Against Houston, he scored 4 touchdowns while rushing for 144 yards. Division rivals received particularly harsh treatment. In 2 games against Arizona, he rushed for a combined 229 yards and 5 touchdowns. The momentum continued against St. Louis, where he gashed them for 195 yards and a touchdown. With each devastating performance, Alexander built Seattle's path toward playoff glory. His historic season transformed the Seahawks from an afterthought to a powerhouse. Seattle finished 13-3, securing the NFC's top seed and home field advantage throughout the playoffs. The team advanced through the postseason, defeating Washington and Carolina to reach Super Bowl 40, the first championship appearance in franchise history. After decades of mediocrity, the Seahawks had finally arrived on football's biggest stage, carried there on Alexander's shoulders. Among legendary running back seasons, Alexander's campaign stands with the elite. His combination of efficiency, scoring prowess, and durability made 2005 uniquely complete. The football world recognized Alexander's brilliance by naming him the NFL's most valuable player, making him the first Seahawk ever to win the award. Alexander received 19 out of 50 possible votes, beating competitors like Tiki Barber and Peyton Manning. For a franchise that had spent decades in the shadows, Alexander's MVP represented validation. Seattle was no longer an NFL outpost. It was home to the league's best player. But what happened next would transform Alexander from rising legend to cautionary tale. The ink had barely dried on Alexander's $62 million contract when his career began its sharp decline. In March 2006, the Seahawks rewarded their MVP with an 8-year deal that made him the highest-paid running back in NFL history, validating his record-breaking 2005 season and seemingly securing his place among the league's elite players for years to come. In a cruel twist of fate, just 3 weeks into the 2006 season, Alexander's world was shattered by a broken left foot against Detroit. Though initially downplayed as a bruise, the injury turned out to be a fracture that sidelined him for 6 crucial games. When Alexander returned to the field, he wasn't the same player. The injury robbed him of his greatest assets, the ability to cut sharply and accelerate through holes. His once patient running style that allowed him to find creases now made him appear hesitant and slow. Like a swordsman stripped of his blade, Alexander found himself vulnerable. His legendary powers diminished. The statistics painted a stark picture of his downfall. From his MVP total of 1,880 yards in 2005, Alexander managed just 896 yards in 2006 while appearing in only 10 games. His touchdown production plummeted from 28 to 7, and his yards per carry average dropped from 5.1 to 3.6. Defenders who once bounced off him now brought him down with ease. Alexander's struggles were amplified when the foundation of his success crumbled. All-Pro guard Steve Hutchinson departed for Minnesota in free agency after Seattle's front office failed to place the franchise tag on him. This single personnel decision triggered a cascade of problems as the chemistry and dominance of the offensive line disappeared. Without his road grader clearing rushing lanes, Alexander struggled to find space. By 2007, physical challenges mounted like an avalanche. Alexander fractured his left wrist in Week 1 but played through the pain wearing a cast. By Week 9, he had sprained both his knee and ankle. Each injury further limited his effectiveness, transforming the once elusive back into a tentative runner. His numbers reflected this decline: 716 yards in 13 games with just 4 touchdowns. Seattle's shift away from the power running game that had defined Alexander's prime years further marginalized his role. After the 2007 season, the Seahawks released him. His final NFL chapter with the Washington Redskins lasted just 4 games in 2008, yielding a meager 24 yards on 11 carries before his release. At just 31, Alexander's career was over. His dramatic fall represents a perfect storm. The foot fracture permanently altered his running mechanics, Hutchinson's departure destroyed his blocking scheme, and additional injuries created a broken-down version of the once dominant back. For Alexander, the MVP trophy and record-breaking contract marked not the beginning of a legendary career, but the beginning of the end. His story showcases the fragility of NFL success, particularly for running backs. While Alexander's playing career ended abruptly, the debate about his legacy was just beginning. Since 2014, Shaun Alexander has been eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yet somehow, one of only 9 NFL MVPs from the 21st century can't even get past the initial nomination round. For 9 of the last 10 years, his name has appeared on the preliminary list, only to be cut before reaching semifinalist status. This persistent oversight raises important questions about how Hall of Fame voters evaluate running backs and what truly constitutes a Canton-worthy career. Alexander's credentials tell an impressive story. The 2005 NFL MVP award, 3 Pro Bowl selections, and NFL Offensive Player of the Year honors. His membership in the exclusive 100 Touchdown Club, he ranks 9th all-time with 100 rushing touchdowns, puts him in elite company. His selection to the NFL's 2000s All-Decade Team and numerous Seahawks franchise records make his continued exclusion puzzling. When examining his peak performance compared to other Hall of Fame running backs, Alexander stands tall. His 2005 season rivals the best years from Canton inductees. His 1,880 rushing yards and record-setting 28 total touchdowns that year surpassed the single-season high marks of several enshrined backs. During his prime from 2001 to 2005, Alexander averaged over 1,500 rushing yards and 17 touchdowns per season, production that matches or exceeds the peak years of many Hall of Famers. Shaun's induction is when, not if. Walter Jones, Hall of Fame offensive tackle, once said about his former teammate. These words echo with hope against the backdrop of consistent rejection. Jones blocked for Alexander during his prime and witnessed firsthand the brilliance that made him special. Critics point to Alexander's career rushing total as the critical flaw. His 9,453 yards fall short of the unofficial 10,000-yard benchmark that voters seem to favor. Like a comet, brilliant and unforgettable yet brief, Alexander's relatively short period of dominance lacks the longevity Hall of Fame voters typically reward. The Seahawks' Super Bowl 40 loss to Pittsburgh may also haunt Alexander's legacy. In the biggest game of his career, he managed 95 yards but failed to reach the end zone. Championship success often sways Hall of Fame voters, and Alexander's subpar showing left a lasting impression. The evolution of the running back position might eventually help Alexander's case. Modern NFL backs face shorter careers and specialized roles, making Alexander's 5-year peak seem more impressive in retrospect. As voters adjust their expectations for the position, Alexander's brilliance during his prime years could receive greater appreciation. Alexander's Hall of Fame candidacy remains overlooked because voters continue prioritizing cumulative achievements over individual brilliance, leaving Alexander on the outside looking in at Canton's hallowed halls. Beyond statistics and accolades, Alexander's true legacy might be something entirely different. When discussing Shaun Alexander today, football fans often struggle to place him among the game's greats. His career doesn't fit neatly into either category of sustained excellence or flash-in-the-pan success. Instead, Alexander's legacy exists in a gray area that challenges how we measure greatness in football. Beyond the gridiron, Alexander crafted a meaningful legacy through the Shaun Alexander Award, established in 2019 to honor college football's premier freshman player. Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence received the inaugural award, symbolizing Alexander's passion for nurturing emerging talent. This initiative reflects his heartfelt commitment to football's future while giving back to the sport that elevated his name. Critics nationwide often dismiss Alexander as merely a system back who thrived behind an exceptional offensive line. Yet in Seattle, he remains a revered figure who fundamentally transformed the franchise's identity. His enduring popularity throughout the Pacific Northwest stands in marked contrast to his fading national recognition. Shaun had this uncanny knack for knowing when to cut before a crease even opened up, former teammate Steve Hutchinson observed. This remarkable anticipation became Alexander's signature, a vision-based approach that confused defenders and established a template for future NFL runners. Coach Mike Holmgren eventually embraced this unique talent, admitting he learned to just hand him the ball and get out of the way because he can really run. Alexander's greatest contribution was elevating Seattle from NFL afterthought to contender. During his tenure, the Seahawks made 5 consecutive playoff appearances, 2003 to 2007, claimed 4 division titles, and reached their first Super Bowl. He cultivated a winning culture that would later blossom into the franchise's Super Bowl 48 victory, years after his departure. His career trajectory serves as a cautionary tale about the precarious nature of NFL running back careers. Following his punishing 370-carry MVP season, Alexander's performance declined dramatically after signing his massive contract, highlighting the risks of overworking even elite talents. Today, Alexander channels his energy into family and philanthropy. Together with his wife Valerie, they raised 12 children while developing Amazing Grace Families, a media platform offering uplifting family content. His community involvement through partnerships with organizations like the Stand Together Foundation earned him a Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award nomination in 2005. While Alexander may not join the pantheon alongside Jim Brown, Walter Payton, or Barry Sanders, his franchise-altering impact and record-breaking 2005 season secure his place in NFL history. His journey demonstrates how a player can reshape a team's identity and achieve brilliance, even if that brilliance proves transient. In a sport fixated on longevity and career statistics, Alexander reminds us to appreciate moments of exceptional performance, however brief they may be. Football measures greatness in different ways: career longevity, statistical milestones, championships. Shaun Alexander challenges these conventions. His brilliance lasted only a few seasons, but at his peak, he played the position at nearly perfect levels. Alexander's career arc balances on that razor edge between glory and decline, where a single injury transformed a meteoric rise into sudden obsolescence. His legacy burns bright but briefly, showcasing how timing shapes careers as much as talent. In 2022, the Seahawks immortalized him in their Ring of Honor, validating Alexander's own belief. "I am assuming it's going to happen one day. One day it should happen." What defines true NFL greatness, statistics, or moments of perfection? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and check out more of our content right here.